Craig, could you get the prayer handout?
Less than half.
Just in case people need them. If you have your book, the prayers are actually in the beginning of the book. And if you don't, Craig has something for you. Thank you. I'm sorry I screwed you all up by showing up early.
You're right on time.
Yeah, we did. Okay. Okay. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Elizabeth Strickland, and I wanted to start with prayers in Sanskrit, if we can. So if you have any... Yeah.
You know the Sanskrit's not in
Can you give one to Bonnie, too?
You know the Sanskrit's not in the text.
It's not in the text. It's in these
Tibetan.
handouts, though.
No, just the Tibetan.
Just the Tibetan is in there.
Are we talking about Tibetan? Oh, which?
Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
Is it not in there?
No, just Tibetan, I believe.
Just Tibetan, okay.
Tibetan.
Let's do it in English then and make life easy. I have a Sanskrit bias. Okay, Craig, can you?
Here is the greater.
Filled with snow and incense, covered the blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing the jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind I make them the paradise of the Buddha, and offer it all to you. By this deed may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niryatatami.
I go for refuge
To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in teaching and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in teaching and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay, so ACI 11, formal course. The second part of a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. So, is anybody new to the center at all? No, you're not.
I'm not new to the center.
And is anybody new to the formal courses at all? Yeah? Well, welcome. Have you taken one before?
I took the last one.
You did, great, great. Maybe we could go around the room and everybody can give their name so that the people that don't know each other can know their names. Kevin?
Kevin Burgess.
Diana Peck?
Janet Oliver. Claudia Schweitzer. Amy Seabrook.
Christy Walker.
Hi, Christy.
Craig Dumont.
Bonnie Stafford.
Bob Arnold.
Great. So, I wanted to introduce myself. This is the second formal course that I've taught. So, I've taught a fair amount of meditation and Dharma with a group called Thoughtful Life Studies, and we've been doing a lot of things in Newburyport lately, the last several months. And I took this course 3 years ago, almost to the date, with Lana Jesse, And these are three of my favorite courses, 10, 11, and 12, all on the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Master Shantideva. So I was very fortunate to take it with Lama Jesse because he's an extremely skillful teacher. And I just hope I can come close to the way he presented it, or a little bit. My background is I've taken teachings with Geshe Michael Roach, Lama Marut, of course, Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Zen master, Joseph Goldstein, who's a Vipassana practitioner, and many others of the senior teachers here at Wisdom's Heart. And my Heart Lama is Mary Kay Dyer. So just to give you a little background on what I've studied. And I still get nervous when I teach, so to tell you that I'm not nervous tonight would be untruthful, and I have vows against that, so I'll just give that as a disclaimer. I'm nervous. So I'm happy to see you all here, and I'm happy to welcome the gentleman that is doing this via, what are we doing now? Ustream. So welcome. And I think your name is Jasdeep. I think so. And if I got it wrong, I'll check it and I'll make sure I get it correctly next week. So welcome. Let's see. So how many people are auditing this course? Like, we're not going to do the homework or the quizzes or the final or anything. You just are dropping in, or you want to be here for part of the time. Is everybody gonna? Are you okay? All right, that's fine. That's fine.
It looks as if I have a job that's starting next week
Oh.
on Tuesday nights.
Well, let's do that.
And I don't know. So.
Okay. Well, you can also do
and
it.
Thank you for welcoming me to try.
Absolutely. Terrific. And so, I mean, you can always listen to the audio too. So what I wanted to do to get out of the way is to have everybody who's doing the course for credit, if you will, pick somebody to trade homework with to correct it. So is that possible? Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Okay.
Can anybody correct anybody's?
Well, you would do each other's.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
How many classes?
wait a minute, tell me is it 2 courses? Yeah, you have to have finished 2 courses.
Okay.
Is anybody not in that category? You've only done 1? Okay. You've done more than,
I've audited,
you've audited.
but I haven't.
Okay.
Homework and test.
All right. So
Well, I have.
you have.
Yeah, I don't have it. Diana did.
Well, does that mean you've done one?
That's just one.
Yeah, no, so I want to stick to the rules. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, Claudia.
So, would anybody volunteer to do Janet's or Kevin's? Is that possible? While you're doing the other person's?
I'll do Janet.
Anyone else?
I'm not jumping up and down because
We can do
3 courses at the same time.
Yeah. No, I've been there. I understand that. So, Kevin, I'll do yours, so you can hand it in to me,
So,
and we'll get it done that way. Okay? All right. So, do you want an explanation on the 18 courses? Can I share some information with you about that? It's a teacher's training program that encompasses, there's 18 formal courses that cover many subjects. All the books, I think there's copies of all the books in the library, the lending library, although we ask that you return them. But if you want to go and read the titles, or you can also go online to look at what the classes are and the class materials, and that would be to go to ACI Dharma, DHARMA.org, and they're all listed there. And they're all downloadable, and there's recordings you can listen to as well, and there's recordings on our website, which is wisdomsheart.org. There's homework, quizzes, and then a final for every course. And then when you finish all 18, you do an oral defense, basically, where you're asked questions in a public forum with everybody there to support you, and that's called a Maroque. So I completed that, so that's the reason I'm able to teach. So, or it's not the reason I'm able to teach, but it qualifies me to teach. So a lot of things in the classes overlap as you take them. You start to see the overlap in them. And repetition is actually really key to this material and in absorbing it. And as I studied the classes, I felt like I was building this three-dimensional web. You know, I pictured it above my head, and you know, things would be shot across like in a spider's web to make, you know, to make the web and to create the strength of it and the beauty of it. And as the more courses I took, the more I saw this as becoming more and more beautiful and elaborate and have much more depth to it. And so I encourage you, I hope you enjoy this class, and if you are not looking to take more classes, which I think most of you are, I encourage you to continue, whether it's drop-in or whatever. But it's important that the things are repeated and reiterated, because it's what is it Geshe Michael says now, it's like 3,000 teachings on emptiness that we need to have, something like that, in order to to truly understand it, because emptiness is a really tough or deep concept. So that's a lot of repetition, and a lot of practice is repetition and habituation of the things that we're going to study in this course, which are patience, virya, or joyful effort, and meditative concentration, 3 of the 6 perfections. So that's why the homework quizzes and final are more are important in order to drive home the different concepts for this the teacher training program. So there's so much information in the Buddhist path that we really need to learn it well and to carry it on carefully and accurately, because it was an oral tradition that started and was handed down starting 2,500 years ago or so. And because it was an oral tradition, they had to be very careful that it didn't change too much, when it went from generation to generation. So because of that, we do like to learn it deeply and strongly so that we can carry it on ourselves, because we are the living Dharma, all of us as students. So in light of that, I really need you, if you're taking it for credit, to attend every class. And if you do have anything that comes up, please contact me, because I would like to, have you share with me what the issue that's keeping you away, so that it's something that's substantial. I mean, we all have things come up, but I'd rather have you be here for every class, or maybe be excused from one. And if you do need to miss a class, as I said, contact me. And if you could, I want you to listen to the audio or watch the video, before the next class so that you're caught up. So I think that's pretty standard with the teachers here. So, you know, you don't want to miss anything because you're, as I said, we're all representatives of the Dharma, so we want to know our stuff. Because Buddhas always speak the truth, and they always speak what's helpful or useful. Even being willing to say things that one might not like, honestly and compassionately. So we want to be able to know the truth, and Dharma means truth in Sanskrit. The reason we need to habituate and we need this education is to develop, as I said, the Buddhist practice. And the reason for that is so that we can pursue happiness, that we can practice happiness, and we can be happy, choose happiness, and seek happiness. It's not what it's what Lama Ru directs us to do. It's what my Holy Lama directs me to do. And it's not about finding yourself unhappy and getting upset or guilt-ridden about the fact that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that you're meant to be happy. It's more about finding yourself in that situation and doing what you can to either accept what's happening or change it. And there's a great line from Shanti Deva that we'll cover tonight that goes over that. A great verse. So it's not about, you know, being correct, it's about being happy. So I find it really handy to use Lama Ru's his mantra. It's like this now. It helps me accept when something doesn't go my way, when I'm not happy about something happening, and I'm rejecting it and being averse to it, and maybe even getting angry about it. So we work to have all the aspects of our practice make us happy. We work on our meditation, we work on helping others, serving the sick, honoring and serving our parents, and keeping a 6 times a day book. Are you familiar with the book, the 6 times a day book?
Just becoming familiar.
Just becoming familiar. Do you have a book that's called the book, you know, the thing?
No, I was just
You
reading
don't?
Lama Ruud's, the booklet that he gave out at the retreat that you have over there, and I just read the
Oh,
history about it.
does it say the book on the cover?
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
It talks about it. It talks about it. Inside.
Oh, okay, because I want you to have one of those.
Mhm.
If we've got them, they're usually
There should be some back there.
in the back. Craig, could you see if there's one? And do you need one? Would you like one?
I'm not sure, not at this time.
Okay, great. All right, terrific. Kevin, you've got it? Okay, I see a book there. Great. It's just, I just want you to be aware of it if you're not. No. Okay. Well, I'll make sure you get one.
Email one to her.
Okay. I'll get your email. It's gonna be at the whiteboard. I'll just give you my email and phone number in case you need to contact me.
Do you want the whiteboard?
I can just, it's pretty simple. My phone number is 9. So,
That was Elizabeth, right?
Elizabeth, yeah. Um, So the format is, it runs about 2 hours. We'll take a short bio break at some point, and if you need one, just let me know, flag me, because that might be a good time to stop. And I want you to feel free to ask questions throughout the class. The class is, I may ask you to hold it to the end because I may believe that something is coming up that would be an answer to the question, or I may address it on the spot. But if I ask you to hold your question, just write it down quickly, and it will address it at the end if we haven't gotten you the full answer for what you're asking. So the course outline is that the classes 1 through 3 are going to be on the perfection of patience, and classes 4 through 6 are going to be on the perfection of joyful effort, or virya, and then classes 7 through 10 are on meditative concentration. So that's how it's going to be divided up. And you can either, if you have a book, you can open it up to the reading, if you would. And you can find in there that the course text, and this happens to be question 1 on the homework, the course texts are Master Shanti Deva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and he was a Buddhist, an Indian Buddhist master, and he lived around 700 CE or AD, whichever you use. And the commentary on it is by Gyaltsab J. Dharma Rinchen, and he lived from 1364 to 1432. And his commentary is entitled The Entry Point for Children of the Victorious Buddhas. So, does anybody know what the entry point refers to? No?
Awakening?
No, it's before that. It's before that. It refers to what we call stream enterers, and there were many rivers in Tibet, because Shanti Deva was Indian and Gyaltsab J, which is her shortened name, was Tibetan. And so in Tibet there are many rivers and relatively few bridges, so they had to ford rivers at a fording place, which would be like the narrowest or shallowest area. And so it refers to that, finding the fording place so that you could stay as dry as possible, practically, that you could stay as dry as possible in the high altitude and the cold air in Tibet. And then, does anybody know what the children of the Victorious Buddhas refers to? Well, it refers to bodhisattvas. So how this fits together is that it's about the bodhisattva, entering the bodhisattva's way of life. So it's kind of a lovely title when you take and you break it down. And what does a bodhisattva have?
Wish for enlightenment.
Yeah. And what's the
Total enlightenment for the sake of it.
Yeah. And what's that called?
Bodhicitta.
Bodhicitta. The wish for enlightenment for the sake of all living beings. So Gyaltsab J lived from 1364 to 1432, as I said, and he was born in San, which is a province of central Tibet. And his teacher was J. Tsongkhapa, who meant, J means Lord, and Tsongkhapa means man from song. So he was the Lord of men from song, or some other iteration of that combination of names. And so Gyaltsab Je was a favorite and famous student of him. J. Tsongkhapa lived from, anybody know?
1357 to 1419.
1357 to 1419, yeah. And Gyaltsab Je became the first Ganden Tripa, which means throne holder of the Gelug tradition, which is our lineage. Our tradition is the Gelug tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And Dana, could you get these out? Thank you, Meg, here. You just give me the extra one. So this is an image that I had printed that is of J. Tsongkhapa, is the central image, and his two students, there's a second student called Kedrup J, is on the lower portion, and I had a little hard time, and Bob might be able to help me out with this. I have that Gyaltsab Je was on his right side, at his left side, and so it's the right person in the image on the lower right, and then Kedrup Je is on the lower left. So it's traditional in our lineage to have a picture of J. Tsongkhapa hanging in your home, maybe near your altar, and there's one right here over my head. And so, and there's actually another one too. Is it still hanging here? Oh, they moved it. Anyway, this is a beautiful tanka with embroidery work, and so I thought I would make those and give them to you, and it was a good opportunity to talk about J. Tsongkhapa a little bit as well. So, Gyaltsab Je was a prolific writer and wrote this commentary, and that was his most famous text, was this commentary, Entry Point for Children of the Victorious Buddhas. And he became the favorite disciple of Tsongkhapa, according to some things that I read, and transmitter of his teachings, and again, being the throne holder after J. Tsongkhapa passed in 1419. So Kedrup Je was also an erudite scholar, and he wrote a biography, which I have never seen though, but he wrote what I think is a beautiful biography of his teacher, J. Tsongkhapa. So I actually want to look at it. So I thought that I was going to do a little meditation now. So if you want to get yourself, your feet flat or however comfortable you can be, flat on the floor, on your pillow, under your feet is good. Yeah, that's great. You can side. You want to sit up nice and straight. Sit quietly and comfortably. And just see if you can breathe slowly and deeply all the way down into your abdomen. So follow the breath for a few moments, watching the in-breath and the out-breath. Focus on the sensations in the body as you fall to rest. And bring up a thought that makes you feel some anger. Could be a conversation you had, could be an interaction with someone, could be war or poverty. Just bring it to the forefront of your mind. And continue to breathe deeply. Where do you feel the sensation in your body, the sensation of anger? What's the sensation that most says anger? Focus on the sensation. Now relax into the sensation. Is it static or is it changing? Now relax your mind. Is the sensation of anger hanging on? As you breathe in and out, feel the sensation dissipating. along with it, your anger. Feel the pleasant sensations that follow. When you're ready, bring your attention back to the room and slowly open your eyes. How was that? Were you able to bring something up? Yeah. Was it changing or was it static?
It's changing.
Yeah. So I wanted to do that meditation because for a long time it was unclear to me that anger could go away, that anger could dissipate. It was just something that I had in me, and I felt like it needed expression quite often. And so bringing it down to a sensation in the body in the moment, when in the heat of anger, is not easy to do, but it is possible, so that you can take that beat before you respond or act or send that email or yell into the phone or whatever, whatever's involved. So I just wanted to quickly review the 6 perfections that I think you're probably, does anybody know the first one?
Generosity?
No. What's the basis of everything,
Passion?
of your vows? It's ethics.
Ethics?
Yeah, ethics. So that was covered in 10. The second one is generosity, or giving, as you said, Claudia, and that was covered in 10. And then, as I said, the next 3, patience, joyful effort, and meditative concentration, are covered in 11. And then 12, which is the culmination of the prior 5, has a course all its own, called ACI 12, and that's wisdom. So the next class is all about wisdom. The next course, excuse me. So on patience on anger, the Buddha said, rage is a powerful energy that with diligent practice can be transformed into fierce compassion. However much we disagree with our enemies, our task is to identify with them. They too feel justified in their point of view. So, with that in mind, we're going to go to, if you can go to the reading on page 2. And Bonnie, do you have your readings with you?
I do.
You don't. Okay. Craig? No? Okay. Claudia, you want to read?
What, the single instance of anger?
Yes, please.
A single instance of anger destroys whatever good deeds you may have amassed in thousands of eons spent in practices like giving or making offerings to those who have gone to bliss.
Go ahead.
Oh, there is no kind of deed as evil as the act of anger. There is no spiritual hardship like patience. Practice it then. Concentrate on patience in many different ways.
Okay, thank you. So the line that says that the first line, that you can destroy your entire mass of thousands of eons of good deeds or good karma can be destroyed by a single instance. This is not meant to be metaphorical, because Master Chandrakirti also writes about destroying the merit. He was an Indian master, about destroying the merit of the merit field, which is what the mass of your good karma is. So it's not meant to be taken lightly. It's meant to be very serious. And it's the problems that we can't see that get us, because we bring up strong emotions in meditation, as I just did, in order to examine them. And it's a good practice to do on occasion, so that if you have an experience and something comes to you and you're trying to work with it to transform it, like anger to patience, and I'm trying to think of some more examples. Being unethical to being ethical, being stingy to being giving. If you meditate on those feelings, you can practice the transformation and feel the transformation based on what your goal is as a bodhisattva, that you want to help others and put them first. I really misunderstood my anger for many, many years, like most of my life, till fairly recently, like 5 years ago. And I thought of it as inner strength. I thought of it as, the impetus for everything I could accomplish. And I couldn't understand the path of destruction in my wake. I just couldn't understand it, because I was just expressing myself, and anger, of course, has to be expressed in order to rid yourself of it. But it really didn't. It just made more. It really didn't work that way. It'd be interesting sometime to talk to you, Claudia, about the schools of thought in psychology, that Gestalt and all that. That you express your anger to get it out, and then you'll be relieved of it. And it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. So I didn't realize, and I'm still trying to do so, that strength comes from compassion and goodwill and patience, as opposed to anger. And it's as clear as the nose on my face now, but when I was seeing red most of the time, it wasn't very apparent. So that was what I identified as my worst or mightiest mental affliction, and have been trying to work on. And it's really, I think, helpful to try to identify what your greatest mental affliction is, in order to be aware of it and how often it comes up. And sometimes to determine that, you can just identify what comes up the most. For me, as I said, it was anger, but pride was a close second, or might actually be my worst mental affliction, because it's what triggers the anger a lot. It's an affront to my pride that causes me to get, really pissed off, because I'm better than that, and how can somebody treat me that way? So what I'm trying to get at now, and I had an interesting experience the other day. I was in line at the last stop in Gloucester, and there were like 7 of us all amassed trying to get waited on, and the regular person wasn't there, and there was some guy just standing in to help, and he could only do like drinks and run the microwave and stuff like that. And so there was a woman who was ahead of me waiting for her food, and this guy, I was next, and this guy came in and jumped the line, and the guy behind the counter didn't know who was next. So very unusual thing for me, actually, I have to say, is that I didn't say anything. I just thought, well, I'll just let this play out, and believe me, 5-10 years ago, I would have been like in that guy's face, telling him about his shoes, and really all over him like a cheap suit. Seriously, use as many cliches as I can get into one sentence. So what happens is, because he said what he did was he said he had a drink order, and so I was like, oh, I'll let him go first. And then he ordered soup that had to be heated up, and then he ordered baked goods, and then he ordered another drink, and and like a coffee drink and stuff, and he just went on and on. And so the woman in front of me, who had her food all ordered, she spoke up for me. She said, she was next. And he said, well, she said she was waiting. And I'm like, what the hell does waiting mean? It means I'm waiting my turn, because he did ask me, and I said, I'm waiting. And then just jumped in. So he turns to me like this and goes, you should be more assertive. Oh, that make me, that pushed a button. And I was trying to think, well, that made me angry. My anger came up. But it was my pride, because I'm thinking, I'm very assertive. I can stick up for myself, and it was my pride that got me, because I looked back at him and I said, that's rude, and I don't think that was too bad a thing to say, because it was very, very true. But he then tried to engage me by saying, I'm not rude, and his voice was getting louder and louder, and so there's a great use of an iPhone. Because I just went and I started, I had a text, and I turned my back and I was just playing with it because I didn't want to engage him. So then the guy takes my order, and I go in my purse to get my wallet, and my wallet's not there. So I'm thinking, this thing goes through my head like, well, wouldn't it be cool if that guy bought me lunch, And then I'm like, no, I got to get out of here. So I went and told the guy who was the owner, who was making my sandwich, I said, I'll be right back. I left my wallet. So I left, and of course the guy was gone when I came back. The irritating person was gone, and I came in, and the owner reaches over the counter and takes both my hands. I mean, it was really weird, like today with people, that someone would come and take both your hands. He said, you've met my most challenging customer. And I said, yes, I did, didn't I? And you are now my favorite customer. Because I didn't engage him. I didn't. And it was, anyway, it was funny, and it was a test, and I kind of passed it, but I didn't, because my pride got me, because I had to tell him something negative about himself, instead of just going, which I would like to think that I would do, but I didn't.
This is revealing a bias I might have, but did he drive off in a BMW? No.
Oh, the owner said, well, I know him from the yacht club. He's from a very special place in Newton called Auburndale. And he was trying to engage me and razzing on the guy, and I wouldn't do it. But I guess the guy, he said it's an entitlement problem. So your guess is probably correct, that I don't know what kind of car he drove, but that he may have felt entitled. But a lot of people feel entitled, and a lot of people aren't entitled enough, in the good way. So, whatever. It was a nice little test, and I almost passed it. So my pride still gets me hooked. So going to the iPhone and then going to get the wallet worked it did the equivalent of saying, I have to go to the bathroom, which I don't know if Lama Root says, but Lama Jesse does. You know, when friction happens, or you're asked a question that you don't want to answer, you know, although I have vows to answer questions. So it's more along the lines, if the going gets tough and you don't want to be involved in the conversation, that you just remove yourself from it. So that worked out quite nicely. It got me out of the guy's proximity and kept me from really punching him in the nose, which did cross my mind at one point. So besides pride, anger also flows from desire. It's when we're blocked from getting what we want, and when we get what we don't want. So we experience, you know, overwhelming desire or aversion to things that can cause us to get angry. So if we look at it in that way, I think it can be helpful to back it up a little bit and say, well, why am I angry? Yeah, I absolutely had to have my sandwich before that guy. I really did. He got his cookies first, and boy, am I pissed. So backing it up can help us to take that moment to consider what we're going to say or what we're going to do, and if it really reflects how we see ourselves, or not how we see ourselves, but how others see us. Well, both. How we see ourselves. What's that called?
Exchanging stuff for others?
No.
Ideation?
No. Consideration. Consideration. So it's consideration of others and yourself that you want to take the moment and make the decision, as opposed to just, you know, blurting something out. Anger destroys everything good in our lives if we let it. It's destroying our good karma, bringing us more anger in the future. As we develop wisdom on this path, it becomes more and more evident that that avoiding anger is worth the effort. And Scripture says that the anger must be directed in order to ruin your amass of all the amassed merit or good karma that you've collected. It has to be anger aimed at a bodhisattva, a saint, in order to destroy that storehouse. So what's a bodhisattva? And, you know, look around here. Can you see any in the room?
Maybe.
Yeah, I see a few. And but out in the world, you can't tell. I mean, when you know people, you may know. But in people that you don't know, you know, anybody could be a bodhisattva. So we need to be careful not to get angry with anyone. So anybody could possess bodhicitta, and we would not know about it necessarily. So, and they're often, you know, extremely stealthy, doing good deeds and flying under the radar. So, just like, you know, if I fancy myself to be aspiring to be a bodhisattva, it wasn't good for that guy to get angry with me, if he did. You know, I'm not sure what he was feeling, but so that's another reason that if you're aspiring to be a bodhisattva, you want to remove yourself from anger, even if it's someone else's anger towards you, because it's bad for them to get angry towards you, because you're working towards it, you know.
Isn't he a bodhisattva there to test you?
What?
Wasn't he a bodhisattva there to set
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the guy behind the counter definitely was a bodhisattva. Because he was very kind when he spoke about that guy. He actually was. So close your eyes, if you would, for a moment. It's not another meditation, but if you just close your eyes. And try to picture the last person with whom you were very angry. Do you know for sure that they don't have a wish for enlightenment? Bodhicitta? We can't know. And if we cannot know, you can open your eyes now, we must be very careful. So think about, like for instance, other people's lamas, like whether you have a teacher or not, but think of some of the lamas that you know of. We may not see them in the way that their students do, but because they see them as holy, all the more reason to be very respectful of them. And that's not just lamas, it's really everybody, because we don't know. So don't get mad at saints, or as Lama Jesse says, don't get mad at Jesus, because we don't know who they are. And sometimes teachers may teach something that seems in conflict with something else you've learned, even Dharma teachers, or incongruent with another teacher that you respect. So the thing is, they may both be right, because as you get deeper into the teachings, you'll find that a high tolerance for cognitive dissonance, meaning two different things that don't quite mesh, is a necessity. We need to be able to hold two or more incongruent ideas in our mind respectfully and often. So this is Buddhism is for the thinking person. The Buddha said to test all of his teachings three ways: by like gold, by cutting, by burning, and by touchstone. So we're meant to really look at the teachings and to see what rings true for us. So I think we're about an hour in. I wanted to see if anybody wanted to use the bathroom. We'll take just a very short break. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. Okay. just wanted to say that the translation in the book, the class book, is by Geshe Michael Roach, and I love it because it's extremely accessible, and I think it's my favorite one, but there's lots and lots of books that called A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. This is one, but if you go, yep, there's another one, and if you go on Amazon, you can see.
But then that other book was also.
What is?
That book that reading it on Searing, The Way of the Bodhisattva.
Yeah,
I thought that was a different book. But
No,
that's
it's the same book.
Yeah, so I went and bought
The
that
Way of the
one.
Bodhisattva, yeah.
But I guess I thought it was different from the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Turns out it's the same book.
So which one was that? Is that one you recommend?
It's okay. I'm not thrilled.
Thank you.
It's by a committee, I think, which, committees that make horses make. What is it? What's the joke?
Camels.
Make camels. Yeah, it's a horse.
What? Oh.
But a camel is a horse designed by a committee. It's kind of funny looking and lumpy. I don't know who it's by, but you can tell. Translated by Stephen Batchelor. It's not. I think there's other ones that you might like as much, if not better, than this one. So I don't. I'm not jumping up and down. I like Geshe Michael's better than that. So. So if we can go on to page 3. I'm sorry, page 5. So, and I wanted to say that for homework question 2, is in the reading on page 2, I believe. And we're going on to homework question 3, which is on page 5. So, Diana, could you read on page 5?
Contemplation 2. Anger ruins our happiness and our relationships. If you hold to the sharp pain of thoughts of anger, your mind can know no peace. You find no happiness, no pleasure. Sleep stays away, and the mind remains unsettled.
Okay, you can stop there. Thank you. So, what they mean when they say that your mind can know no peace is that we'll never reach nirvana. We'll never understand or reach nirvana. And where it says you find no happiness, it means that this is like your current mental happiness that eludes you. And without it, it'll ruin your meditation. Without a happy mental status, it will ruin your meditation because you'll be preoccupied with something that, is something like anger that's going to bring you away, going through scenarios in your head about some conversation or something like that. And when it says no pleasure, it means that anger physically hurts your body. Stress, stress to the body causes all kinds of problems like heart problems and cardiovascular, cardiovascular problems, headaches, back problems, all kinds of things with tension in the body, whether it's in the heart and the veins or arteries or in the muscles. Sleep stays away. And again, this, for example, can be, when you get into a conversation with someone and you become angry and you go away and I could have said that, and I should have done this, and I should have told them that. and going over and over something that has passed, and blaming your unhappiness on another that is what really can keep you awake at night. So, with the mind remaining unsettled, it puts you off your game and it's really hard to think straight. So, those are the kinds of things that these verses refer to. Diana, can you go on from suppose?
Suppose there were a master who bestowed upon all those within his care both wealth and honor as they wished. Still they'd rise to kill him if he lived in fury. It leaves your friends and family tired of being with you. They refuse to stay on even though you may entice them with gifts. To put it simply, there is no one with anger who can be happy. Anger, our enemy, brings us these and other pains as well.
So, when they're referring to a master here in the first line, they're talking about somebody in a leadership role, whether it's the head of a family or, some sort of authority figure. Just to bring it into the 21st century as opposed to ancient India. When it says that your family and friends refuse to stay, it means that they, it could mean leaving physically or dissociating, in the situation and just leaving emotionally. So all those things can happen. I read a quote today by Robert Thurman, who's a very respected Buddhist scholar, that anger spoils relationships where there should be great reciprocity. And, anger means that reciprocity can't happen because somebody's got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong. So we're going to look at anger in two ways. So the first is how anger denies you any feelings of physical comfort or mental peace. That you can't sleep, you can't relax, you can't experience joy, you can't experience peace of mind and meditation, or meditate well at all. And the second is how it destroys friends, relatives, and all relationships. So it robs you of love and companionship and closeness to other living beings and sweetness and tenderness in your life. So, you know how it is with family or friends or a romantic relationship. Most of us have two or three of those in our lives. And trouble in any one of them bleeds into the other ones frequently. It's easy for that to happen. When you're upset about one thing, you bring it with you into the other relationships in your lives. And, it's just kind of like spreading the love or the lack of love, really. Nobody wants to be around an angry person. So, we'll go on to the next verse, which is on page 8. Do you want to read, Janet?
Sure. Anger feeds on the food of feeling upset, then strengthened turns to smash me. And so then I will smash the sustenance that feeds this enemy of mine. My foe knows no other kind of work at all except to cause me pain. No matter what happens, I will never allow my joy to be disturbed. Feeling upset cannot accomplish my hopes and only makes me lose the goodness that I have. If there is something you can do about it, why should you feel upset? If there is nothing you can do about it, what's the use of being upset?
So the last two verses are my favorite lines from this whole book. Although I have a lot of those, but there's many things in these writings that I love. So it's simple, right? If there's something you can do about it, why get upset? If there's nothing you can do about it, why get upset? But it's not easy. It's so easy to get upset. But it's, this attitude is a recipe to stay happy. It really is. Because if you can stay that unattached to an outcome, to, you know, getting whatever it is that you prefer, and can step back and realize that it's the reason you're getting or not getting something is because of your past actions, and realize that your actions in the moment are going to create your future. It really, it's very hard to come to the place where that becomes almost natural to you, because we weren't raised with multiple lifetimes and karma and emptiness as what we absorbed as children from, you know, birth. So it's a big switch up. Some people are much more inclined to it than others. Some people have to work harder in order to incorporate that or become that. And again, that's all our karma. You know, where we've been in the past and where we're going in the future is determined by our karma, and we're making karma every minute. Karma means action, and so every moment we're doing actions. And 64 actions, 65 per finger snap. So that's a lot.
Per second.
Per finger snap.
Per finger snap.
Per finger
Which second finger snap? I don't know. I think they might be close to equal. But they didn't really probably have seconds when that was written. So, it's hard work, it's deep work, it's important work, and it takes practice. That's why they call it practice. So it takes a lot of practice to be circumspect about your emotions, to see them in full, see them see them and see the outcome of your choices, to project that in your mind and be able to make better choices about how to express the emotions that come up. So, but seeing emptiness of any situation is very helpful, and even freeing in that situation when an emotion comes up. You don't have to react any certain way, even though you have in the past. You can make a choice in every moment on how to respond to things. So, and driving is a great test for this, really. I have to admit that I used to swear like a sailor in my car. I'd even close the windows so people wouldn't hear me. But when I get cut off, I was being separated from something I desired. I wanted to get there first. I wanted to get to my destination, come hell or high water, and everybody get out of my way. So, and I wasn't like that in other aspects of my life, at least not that badly. So it's something that clicks, I think, when you get behind the wheel of a car. Maybe it only happens in Massachusetts. I don't know, because I don't live in New York State anymore. But it took a long time for me to not speak that way. But I had a couple things happen. It happened twice. I was on phone calls when I had, with a headset and everything. When something happened, so I'm sorry, and I would just reel off once was with my mother, a string of obscenities, and that really gave me pause to consider how I was conducting myself, and I had a situation where I actually went to New York City to hear Geshe Michael speak. And I went with a number of Sangha members. There were 4 of us. And when we were driving back, I was supposed to be back for something. So I said, I'll drive. I get in and I start driving the way I normally drive. And I look at Leslie, it was her car, and she was sitting next to me, and I looked at her and she was like white. And I'm like, oh my God, I pulled over, I said, I am so sorry. And she said, that's okay, someone else will drive now. And they were so kind to me, and I was such a schmuck, So that was another big lesson about driving, but it took a few till I changed my habits as far as speed and aggressiveness. But there's many ways to practice, many ways, and I've found an awful lot of them. So when we do have a difficult situation and we don't respond in a way that we're particularly happy with or proud of or anything like that, we need to contemplate the fact that if we've gotten, say, very angry with someone, that is going to show up later as someone most likely getting very, very angry with us. And there's something about karma that, there's some laws to karma. One is that karma, oh gosh, am I going to get these right? Can you guys help me out? Karma's certain. Karma grows, and that was the point I was going to make, that the result comes back to a greater extent than the original expression. So my expression of anger is probably going to come back to me much greater than what I did to someone else.
Positive and negative.
Well, it happens positively as well. Absolutely, thank you. So what's the third law of karma? If you don't do the act, then the seed will not be planted and the karma will not come back to you. The result will not happen. And what's the fourth one?
If you do the act,
If you
surely will.
If you do the action, you surely will have the result. Thank you. So thinking about that, about the seeds of karma that we're planting, it can, if we take that moment, it can make the decision a lot easier in how to respond to a situation. So it can really take some of the angry wind out of your sails pretty quickly. But it takes that moment, it takes that mind training, it takes meditation to get to the point where your mind can be tamed to do such a thing. So just waiting can be the hardest endeavor, to just take that moment and wait and collect yourself and say, yeah, I'm trying to be a bodhisattva, so is this helpful? It takes practice, and with anything, as with anything, and it's good to measure your progress, because as you do, like I know I'm telling you stories about the horror show that I used to be, but it helps me to remember my past behavior so that I can see that I have progressed. I have moments for certain still where I'm not happy with my thought process, where I may not be acting on it. But when it's just like with meditation, that you need to look at, the time, keep a record of when you sit and the quality of sitting, so that you can monitor it and therefore be motivated to continue to try harder and harder, or apply yourself more and more, I should say, and sit more and more, so that you can motivate yourself in order to continue a difficult task. So the practice really rewires your brain. It gets synapses firing, the neural pathways firing that were not firing previously, and you can put some to rest that maybe you didn't like having them firing. It motivates us to continue to strengthen those muscles. So a quote from the Buddha that I like is, he's addressing some monks. So he says, "Monks, a statement," and this is on the speech of the Buddha. "A statement endowed with 5 factors is well spoken, not ill spoken. It is blameless and unfaulted by knowledgeable people. Which 5? It is spoken at the right time. It is spoken in truth. It is spoken affectionately or compassionately. It is spoken beneficially, and it is spoken with a mind of goodwill. A statement endowed with these 5 factors is well spoken, not ill spoken. It is blameless and unfaulted by knowledgeable people." And I like that very much, because those are questions. I know that Dalai Lama has a lovely little list of questions to ask yourself before you speak. And they go along the lines of, are you saying, is it timely? Is it the truth? Is it done with goodwill? Is it helpful? And, well, the last one is, it's spoken with a mind of goodwill. I don't know how that translates. I'm not sure how long his list is. But I mean, those are all good guidelines to go by. So if you can take that moment before you respond to some sort of affront, and you recall those things, I mean, that's actually what I was thinking when I left the store, because it was very awkward for me not to talk to the guy, to be like right in very close proximity, and to be ignoring him. I was being rude, so I got myself out of there, and was able to not speak at a time where I knew speaking with what was going on inside me was not going to be helpful. I wasn't going to be able to have some beneficial speech at that point. I was annoyed. So we're going to go on to page 11. Claudia, could you read again? Or would you like to read?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so the verses on page 11.
Okay. There is nothing in the world which does not come easily if you make a habit of it. Make then a habit of bearing the small pains and thus endure the greater.
So this is question 5 is covered here. So it's about habituating patience. So creating a new habit takes, depending on who you ask, takes 21 days or 28 days. There's different schools of thought on it. But if we can alter our behavior consistently for that length of time, whether it's abstaining from cigarettes or sugar or gluten or what all the things that people are quitting these days, we can actually change our habitual behavior. But the same rings true for any kind of, what I'd call bad behavior that I'm not happy about, whether it's being completely inappropriately honest, or changing my speech in other ways, or keeping my vows. We habituate them, and when we go through the book, this book that I was talking about, there's some vows that you can just try. There's a set of 10 vows that you can just try that without taking them, that you can go through, take one 6 times a day, the various vows. So that's another aspect to the book. But in keeping the book, we're reminding ourselves of our vows so that we can habituate them, so that they come up frequently and regularly so that we can habituate them and change our behavior. So if we're changing things over a period of time and sticking with it, then again we will create new neural pathways needed to continue without the same effort. So call it 21 days. The first 21 days take a huge amount of effort, but after that it gets to be less and less, and you're habituated to doing something. The next thing I wanted to go over was question 6 on the homework. And it's about the logic that supports the idea that we can develop patience even with great suffering. So we need to habituate patience, which is possible as it is with any other state of mind that we choose. If we make patience a mental habit, that we take that time and we think and we pause. And I have to say that one of my greatest teachers in this is Bob, that he's very skilled at taking the full account of a situation and responding appropriately. And I have to say that to you because it's very true. And that in doing so, your responses are always a teaching to me, always. And so I have to thank you for that, and for being, a shining example of what I aspire to take that time, to take a beat, to wait, and see that the sky doesn't fall if I don't scream back or I don't defend myself towards something that I perceive as an insult or rudeness or anything like that. So if I can make patience a mental habit, I can combat my anger. And I don't need to become angry. And anger is a bad habit, and has been for me. And when we continue to get angry, we are reinforcing it. And if we express patience, we're going to reinforce that. And that's what we want to do. So we must and we can change from anger to patience, because it's empty. Because it's empty, we can, and because we're not inherently angry people from our own side, being self-existently angry. We're changing things. And according to quantum physics, everything is changing 3 trillion times per second. That's the one per second. And so why can't it be for the better? Why not? It's a good reason to go on a media diet also, because everything is so negative. And that's what Lama Ru has encouraged us to do. And I came back from the summer retreat and I shut off my television, my cable. Did you?
Yeah, I've drastically cut back.
No,
Yeah.
It took me 5 years. And I do have streaming Netflix, but I shut it. I've just got internet now.
Yeah.
And but it took 5 years of, the thing he does, TV, no. Yeah. No, I celebrated. I really did, because I was very surprised that I actually did it, but because I was sitting there one day and I had the TV on and I was thinking, nothing is going to change unless I pick up the phone right now, so I did. But that's great. See, I have a real problem with it. You probably don't have as big a problem with it as I do, as I have had. But, yeah. So, I want to go to page 13 now, the reading. Gina, you want to read?
Some, when they catch sight of their own blood, rise to a higher ferocity. Some, when they see another person's blood, faint and fall unconscious. All of this derives from either steadfastness or cowardice in the mind. Learn then to disregard harms and never allow any pain to touch you. Hurt may come, but the wise never let suffering cloud the clarity of mind. We are locked.
I'm going to have you stop there
Okay.
just for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
So a warrior can become fiercer when he or she sees their own blood spilled, but another might faint, as this says, with the sight of their own or another's blood. But there's a great deal of difference between the two individuals mentally as how their minds are working. But no difference between the bodies wounded. You know, their pain is the same. So it's just the mental training that makes the difference. The metaphor here, the way I see it, is that we can become fiercely compassionate in the face of anger, and turn our anger into compassion. So, are you with me on that? No? How to turn, basically turn it over and realize that the other person is there as a Buddha there to teach you, and realize that what they're expressing is as much pain as you may be feeling in the moment. So that's how you can turn it into compassion, by realizing how pained they are.
I was thinking that you could have said that to that guy in the store.
What would I have said?
I could see that you're in a lot of pain and suffering. I mean, I don't know how he would have responded to that, but...
No, I'm not!
Or stronger.
But I was, just...
No, I appreciate that, I really do. I wish I could have.
It's always easier to think of it afterwards, but that's what helps me, is to realize that the person who's screaming or whatever, that they're suffering more than I could ever be.
Yeah.
By being in their presence.
Because nobody wants to be unhappy.
Right.
Like, I would say, because of my belief system about my own anger in the past, was that it was powerful and therefore good. I wasn't unhappy about being angry, but I was unhappy. So I'd say that their lack of happiness is their suffering. Yeah. Does that make it a little clearer? Okay. So I would go to 15, Diana, can you read?
Contemplation 6. Learn to disregard wounds in battle. We are locked in combat with mental affliction, and in war, many wounds are sustained. Ignore then any pains that might come. Smash the foes of anger and such. Conquering these is the thing that makes a warrior. The rest are killing only corpses.
So there's a lot of metaphors in here again that refer to the battles that we must do with our mental afflictions, and the combat that we're locked in with them most of the time. So the mental afflictions are what we need to smash, and And the idea of killing corpses is that our enemies are going to die anyway, so why do we need to kill them? People die. But human beings, with their mental afflictions, will carry them into the next life. So we'll carry our mental afflictions into the next life. Our enemies will all be dead, and we'll still be carrying this burning coal of anger or whatever it is into the next life. And what we need to conquer is that our anger towards our enemies as opposed to our enemies themselves, so that we won't carry that with us to our next life. And who knows, maybe we'll make it to enlightenment in this one. So we smash the mental afflictions so they don't smash us. So I wanted to read the part at the bottom of 15 and the top of 16. Claudia, you want to do that?
Okay. Here is the fourth point on the benefits of making efforts.
Oh, and what? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Of making efforts to eliminate your mental afflictions. We are locked in combat with mental afflictions, with thoughts such as anger and the like, things which we seek to eliminate from our minds. And in a war, many wounds, many sufferings are sustained. In the world, a man or woman is counted as a warrior if they can ignore the pains that come as others strike their body and continue to slay their foe. We, on the other hand, are learning to ignore any kind of pain that might ever come in body or in mind, and to go on to smash the foes of our mental afflictions, anger and such. The act of conquering these mental afflictions is the thing that makes you a true warrior. The rest don't deserve to be called warriors, because it's the same as if they were only killing corpses. They are slaying people who, even if someone hadn't killed them, would have died on their own anyway, by the very nature of things.
So, so here's the fourth point on the benefits of making efforts to eliminate your mental afflictions that were quote locked in combat with mental affliction, with thoughts such as anger and the like, things which we seek to eliminate from our minds. And quoting from this again, in a war, many wounds, that's a quote, and meaning many sufferings are sustained. In the world, well, I'm screwed up here, I'm sorry. So, I just started to repeat myself, I beg your pardon. I wanted to go over homework for question 9, which isn't in the reading, so I thought I'd go over that. So the question is, Janet, do you have that to read? The question for number 9?
In general, there are 3 types of patients. Name and describe them briefly.
Okay. So the way I understand this, and because it's not in the reading, and this, if you need further instruction on it, you can go and look at the answer key, and then try to put it in your own words. But the way I understand it is that the first kind of patience is that a bodhisattva takes on problems willingly and happily as opportunities to practice. And the idea is to use samsara as a path to moksha or liberation. Moksha is Tibetan for liberation, which means to stop seeing suffering as a bad thing, see it as good material to practice with. The second is the patience where you concentrate on the Dharma and want to study it in many ways and from many scriptures and subjects. So patience with study, basically. And the third one is the patience where it does not faze you when others do you harm. So that you're not, you don't tell people they're rude, you just take it on the chin. So not getting angry in the face of an affront from others when you don't get what you want or get what you don't want. So again, anger can flow from desire. And one other thing, another thing that Shanti Davis says that it flows from is, let me find it. It feeds on the food of feelings of upset. And so being upset is the precursor to anger. So when you feel that sensation, were people able to bring up a sensation during the meditation in their body? No? You're just too kind, Bonnie. Because I was trying to do it while I was doing the saying meditation, and I was feeling it like right here, like right in my chest, like somebody just like punched me right in the sternum, and like my breathing tensed up and stuff. So, and that, I'm trying to think of what the precursor to that is, what the sensation is to being upset. I think I start breathing shallowly, and so, it's just it's kind of like a trick to, if you can identify the sensation of the precursor even, and then you can click out of emotion and into your mind to try to stave it, to hold it off from developing into full-blown anger. So if we can keep never going beyond being upset about something to full-blown anger, that's a good thing. So let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, okay. So the meditation assignment for this class is, Dana, do you have your homework out handy, or is it?
Yeah.
Can you read the meditation assignment?
The first class covered 6 different contemplations. Choose one of these contemplations which best addresses one of your own mental afflictions, and spend 15 minutes per day in meditation upon it.
Okay, so the outline of what the contemplations specifically are, I didn't go by contemplations when we were reading, but it says it right in the reading if you go through. And the way this is set up is that the Shanti Deva texts are the very small, very narrow verses in the middle with the Tibetan first. And that's the script. So those are it, and those are the contemplations, are those aspects of it. So you want to take one of those, and what I'd like you to do is to try to identify what it, if you haven't already, identify what the mental affliction that you struggle most with, and find the contemplation that fits for that if possible. So so first identify the worst mental affliction and take some time to do it. And it's probably, I was told this, it's probably not the one you think it is, it's probably the next one. Because I'm starting to wonder now if anger was my worst one, and if it was pride that actually triggered all the anger, and maybe pride was the worst one. So I'm not sure where I heard that, but this I once heard. So try to identify it, and then take the contemplation. And if you could, I'd really like it if you could sit 6 days a week and take 1 day off for Shabbat, as Lama Rud says. So that's it. And then if you can get your homework done by next week, that would be great. So you can switch. And Kevin, I'll take yours. And I'd like to do prayers again in English.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
Would you list a number of mental afflictions?
Okay, everybody help me out. Anger, pride,
Ignorant desire.
ignorant desire,
Ignorant dislike.
ignorant dislike,
Ignorance.
ignorance.
Those are the top 6.
Those are the top 6. Wait, that was only 5.
Oh, you said
Anger, pride,
Ignorance, ignorance
liking, ignorant, disliking, and ignorance. Is there 6 left?
itself.
So does that make, do the ignorances make sense?
That is very helpful.
Okay.
doubt.
Yeah, probably should do that. All right. So who's doing prayers? Great.
Here's Creator.
Filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind I make them the paradise of a Buddha, and offer it all to you. By this deed may every living being experience the whole world. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Vijayamani.
By the goodness of what I have
Just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Sarvamangalam, may all beings be happy.
Please teach.
Please teach, please teach, please stay, please stay, please stay.
Thank you for